Hey friends, welcome back to OG Universe. Thank you so much for stopping by. We're finishing up our reviews on the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse, Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice figures. We're taking a look today at Doomsday and Superman, this deluxe 2-pack, which has this mega size Doomsday and a revamp of an original release from the Justice League movie. We got Superman, portrayed by Henry Cavill. Very interesting to have these two guys in hand, as I thought I was going to pass on this one. Actually, I was going to pass on this entire line, to be honest with you. Just at the last second, I just saw some reviews that kind of piqued my interest. And I thought, okay, you know what? I got my discount at GameStop. Let's go for it. And I did the pre orders, and I'm glad I did because the pre orders sold out extremely fast. And these figures have very much surprised and changed my opinion on this entire wave. So I've already reviewed the armored version of Batman, Nightmare Batman, and Wonder Woman. Check out my reviews on those. They're on a DC Multiverse playlist. But I'm very interested to see this one because the Doomsday looked really good. It's a very interesting take on Doomsday. I wouldn't even call him Doomsday per se. I just think of him as some lab experiment gone wrong at Star Labs and Superman's got to take him down kind of thing. Not the bone protrusion, hulking monster that we know Doomsday to be. But this one is still very interesting and a good addition. Now, the Superman, that's something different here. That's an interesting figure for sure. So let's take a look at the packaging and what we got with this 2-pack, and then we'll deep dive into both of these figures and see if they're worth your money, because this was an expensive 2-pack here in Canada. Went for about $99 retail. I do have a discount with GameStop, an Onyx member level membership, which gives me 15% off my figures, which is great. So it was a little bit of a cost saving there, but damn, is it worth the money? We'll talk about that. So let's take a look at the packaging. I really do like the photography on the back here. You got a really cool picture of Doomsday. Great Henry Cavill Superman right there. Gonna miss that guy, Superman, for sure. Then on the side here, we got Doomsday, Superman, Dawn of Justice, the gold spine. On the inside, you do have a couple of display stands. That really nice backdrop as well. And then you got the trading cards from the artwork on the back. So that's it for that. You do have this massive tray. This is a massive tray that was attached by the connecting kind of cable or ties that really just connected it. There's no tape, but man, you gotta be careful about those ties. There's no other ties in this entire pack, which is good. So they can take some time to get rid of those ties. Then, in addition, you're getting a few sets of hands. You get 2 sets of hands. One is on this kryptonite spear as well. And you get this kryptonite spear, and that's it. You don't get the backdrop, you don't get the display battle stand or anything like that, just that. Hands and staff. And the staff, we saw it in the Batman Armored Edition. It's not the best, it's very pliable, very pliable. So put this tray down. And man, it's a little warped. The mine's not too bad. I took some cold water and hot water and did all that stuff, and it's suitable now. I wish it was a stiffer material. I guess it's not as rigid, so you don't break it. So I totally understand that. This hand, though, my goodness, I had to warm this hand up because it would not hold this staff. I had to pry the fingers open with the thumb as well so I can get this staff around, or excuse me, the hand around the staff. I do wish this was a clear translucent piece. That would have been fantastic, or just some different shades of green on it to give some highlights. But overall, it is a nice accessory because you definitely need this to reenact the scene where Superman pierces the heart of Doomsday. Wish there was some sort of slot here that would kind of encompass that. He does have a bit of a scarring going on here. We'll take a closer look at that, but would have been neat to have some sort of way of protruding this into Doomsday's heart. That would have been kind of cool. And we'll see this on Superman as well. So let's kind of move the figures out of the way here, and let's take a closer look. Now, Superman is on a flight stand, but he is not, the flight stand is not included, unfortunately. You just get the Superman with this really nice wired cape. I was expecting something a little different. I think it would have been great if we had an additional head sculpt with some heat vision going on, or a brand new head sculpt to go along with this. Maybe a little bit extra paint deco. He did, I remember, had a bit of a lighter shade of blue on his cuffs and some of the outlining areas on his costume. That would have been a nice little touch. I'm kind of considering doing that, maybe. But one thing I do want to point out is how beautiful that logo is. That logo looks amazing. A metallic finish. The paint looks so damn crisp and nice. And that's one thing you got to say. This figure aged very well because this figure came out a few years ago, but he does have those dreaded ball joints. He didn't get the new sculpted ball joints. So that's something you might want to change on your figure. I did do a short regarding Nightwing where we swapped out the legs, or excuse me, the pegs and the feet. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you watch that on my playlist, the DC Multiverse. But yeah, overall, this is a very nice figure. If you missed out on the first time, because this version was, I believe, a Target exclusive, maybe in the States. In Canada, I know it was a GameStop exclusive. I only saw it once. Picked it up as soon as I saw it, and I never saw it at retail again. We did get the original, which is in the black costume, which is really cool too, but man, everybody wanted this version. I'm glad I got this one too. The cloth cape is extremely nice. It is a little thin, as you can see, it's kind of transparent. It's a little thin. I would have appreciated a little bit thicker material, but it does have a very strong bendy wire, and there's a lot of cape going on here. You do get a ton of cape. Look at that wingspan there, cape span. Lots of cape. So that's kind of cool. And it's very posable, of course, just like these wired capes are from McFarlane Toys. They are fantastic. You can get in all sorts of poses. Dynamic range of motion just conveys a lot of emotion and detail. And you definitely want to have the Superman on a flight stand so you can get that extra windswept cape action going on. I really do like the way this figure turned out, but like I said, some extras would have been nice. Different head sculpt would have been fantastic. I would have loved that. Maybe a little bit of battle damage, even. Not too bad. That would have been interesting to see. But unfortunately, we didn't get any of that. We did get the extra hands, which is appreciated because the original just had a closed fist and then a kind of an open hand, kind of like this, which for flight poses, I guess. But man, I like this one a lot better. It feels different too. I don't know. It has a bit more fluidity in the articulation. It just feels in just really a good, solid action figure for sure. Really do like the way this one looks. All the detail. The costume itself is just like texturing upon texturing. It's freaking beautiful. Really has a nice feel to it as well. So yeah, I'm really impressed. And the skin tone looks good. The first release did have it looked a little too painted, so to speak. I know we've talked about the realistic skin tones and the casting of plastic that they've used in the past, and it looks fantastic, much more realistic. They didn't do that here, unfortunately. I would have liked to have seen that change, but still, very nice Superman figure to add to the collection. Now let's take a look at Doomsday. And this guy, he is a monster of a figure. He is huge, imposing, menacing. As you can see between the two of these figures, there's quite the height difference. But we've seen some mega-sized figures, they're a brick. Darkseid, unfortunately, I love that figure. That was recently released, the comic book Superpowers inspired version. But that figure had the worst articulation. And I know a lot of people had issues with arms popping out, legs popping out, all sorts of stuff. And lo and behold, that's the Build-A-Figure for the next kind of Build-A-Figure wave. The Justice League Task Force figures that are coming out in January here in Canada. Pre-order is already in. Can't wait to get those. There's going to be a fun kind of wave with digital kind of 16-bit or maybe 8-bit back then, I guess, costumes. So it's kind of cool. But this one, I was quite impressed with some of the level of articulation that you do get with this figure. Now, the details and paint job are just phenomenal. That is one intimidating looking figure. He does look really good. I do appreciate that. I am sort of seeing Darkseid, or not Darkseid, Doomsday a little bit in that, but you know, I prefer this not to be Doomsday. I would prefer the full spike, ponytail, all that cool stuff going on, but this is just a cool kind of creature, a beast for the Justice League to tackle. And like I said, there's that big scar that he has across his chest. That would be cool if there was some sort of mechanism or deep kind of sculpted area where we could put the staff right in the heart so it's piercing his chest. That would be cool. Fortunately, we don't have that aspect. Maybe, well, probably. We're never going to see another one of these Doomsdays again, I don't think. But it would have been cool to have that aspect. The claws are really gnarly and nasty. It does have some bone spurs coming out here. And the overall paint job and just texture of this figure is impressive. He looks fantastic. Like, the bones look really cool. The texture on the figure is really nice. The sculpted details, everything you'd want there, it's well done. So definitely, kudos to the designer of this figure. He did a great job, or they did a great job, creating a very imposing figure of Doomsday that looks and has a good feel to it too. Now, the one thing is not super hollow, but it is a little hollow. And I kind of worry when you move the arms and you hear a lot of that crunching and stuff going on. There's nothing wrong with the figure. I've tested it out, played around with it, tested articulation. Nothing going on there that's out of the ordinary, so to speak, but kind of worrisome when I hear that cracking. But it's not really cracking, it's just the joints moving around. I am thinking I might pop this arm off and just put a little bit of some sort of lubrication in there just to, you know, kind of avoid that sound, which I don't like. But this is a very cool looking figure with so much detail. He's really a fun looking figure. Now, I don't know if kids these days play with toys or action figures or, but I mean, man, if I had this under the Christmas tree and I was a young lad, I'd be really stoked just to have, the fun impact of this big hulking monster, Superman that looks absolutely awesome. It'd be very fun to have this under the tree. But as an adult, I can appreciate it in that sense. And then I see the collector's value that this is a pretty interesting two pack for the price point is pretty expensive. It's a higher price point, but when you kind of think about it in pricing, especially here in Canada, you're looking at about 30 to 20, well, 25 to $30 for a figure. And then for your mega size figures, you're looking maybe about $50 to maybe 60 max. So the $99, yeah, it's a little inflated, especially if it doesn't come with a battle stand. It doesn't have really too many extra accessories, just the kryptonite staff, which, could be a little bit better. If it had the crystallized kind of look to this clear transparent plastic, that would have been awesome. And then giving Superman an extra head sculpt would have been greatly appreciated as well. But if you do have the GameStop, you know, gamer card, platinum card, you will be saving at least 10%. So that's a little bit of savings. But I think the value is there because this is a really well done two pack. I gotta give it with all the faults in lack of accessories, kind of. These figures are really well done. So let's take a look at articulation. We'll start things off with Superman. Let's move Doomsday out of the way. Should have came with a flight stand for sure, but I got so many flight stands that it's all right. But it would have been great to have that little addition. So let's take a closer look at the face sculpt. Definitely, you can see a little bit of Henry Cavill for sure at certain angles. It's really painted well. But I kind of prefer it to be, my regular Superman in that sense. So it's not super like Henry Cavill, but it's still reminiscent of a Superman, which I totally appreciate and really do dig because this is a great looking Superman to have on the shelf. The articulation, let's get on with that. So the head can look up pretty decently. Down, we got the side attitude going on. Do have some stiff joints here. It does have the spacer joint as well. So you're going to get that extra butterfly hinge, as you can see. You do have the cut at the bicep, double jointed ratcheted elbows. You do have ball joints at the hands, which are swappable as well. You can look back, not too bad, and crunch forward with that abdominal crunch. You have ball joint at the waist, double ball joints at the hips, and you have double jointed knees, toe articulation, ankle rocker pivot, and you still got those ugly ball joints. I wish they would have replaced that. Would have been a nice touch because you gave him this awesome cape, but you didn't give him better new sculpted ball joints. So overall, he is a really cool looking Superman. If you missed out the first time around, this is the best version in my opinion, and you'll be happy to have him in your collection. The cape is fantastic. It's a strong wire, as you can tell. Lots of range of motion as well. A little thin on the cape, but it has a nice feel to it. It doesn't feel too cheap. Just a little thin. Would have appreciated just a bit more going on with that cape. So let's move Superman out of the way for a moment and let's take a look at Doomsday's articulation. Now he does have limited movement on the head, a little bit of side attitude. Can't look up because I guess the trapeze is the way the ball joint is connected. Can't look down too much either. Doesn't have a spacer joint, but he does have full range of motion, ball joint in there. He does have no bicep cut whatsoever. He does have a single joint at the arm with a swivel. He does have really gnarly hands. I love this clawed hand. That looks awesome. He does have a hinge there going on. Doesn't have abdominal crunch, so to say, at the abs area, but he has a ball joint connected to his waist. So you can get a bit range of motion for some dynamic posing, and that's greatly appreciated. It's commonly used in the mega-sized figures, which haven't really extensively played around with too many of them, Bane and this guy and Darkseid, but it's appreciated to have that little bit extra range of motion. You have a ball joint at the hips, you do have single jointed knees, you have toe articulation, which is nice for sure. You do have an ankle rocker and some pivot going on. Doesn't have any sculpted ball joints, so it doesn't have any ball joints, but overall, you can get this guy in some fun action poses where he's taking on the Justice League or Superman or whoever you want. But yeah, I like this figure a lot more than I thought I would. I can see some Doomsday for sure. If you look at it from the DC, the film franchises and everything else, but it's just a cool action figure that could be a generic monster, lab experiment gone wrong, could be blockbuster if you really wanted to have that. I really do like it. He is very well done for a mega-sized figure. And speaking of mega-sized figures, I definitely want to bring in my Darkseid, which, man, this figure had some great qualities to it. Unfortunately, it is a brick. But you can see the height difference between these two. Darkseid is imposing. The head sculpt is brilliant. I absolutely love the head sculpt. I'm really interested to see the new Build-A-Figure version of this with the Justice League Task Force. Hopefully they fix some of the QC problems that this guy was plagued with, and he's got just a little bit more posability as well. Unfortunately, it doesn't have that alternate head sculpt, which is the Omega beams coming out of his eyes, but we'll see how that figure stands up with this one. But it's a nice height difference, and you are getting a pretty big mega-sized figure in this 2-pack as well. Another figure I kind of want to bring in, I thought it'd be interesting to see the height differences between these two, and that is Lobo. So definitely you can see Lobo, what if he took on Doomsday with Superman, or these two guys somehow teamed up to take on Superman. Be interesting to see, and I like the height difference between these two as well. Lobo is a bit bigger of a figure, but man, this Doomsday is impressive. He towers over these guys. That's very cool. Now, I want to get Superman back on a display stand so we can do some comparisons to some other figures from this wave as well. But yeah, I'm definitely digging the way these figures turned out. This has been a very surprising wave. If you check out my reviews, you can get my full opinions on this entire wave. We'll just move Doomsday out of the way for a moment. And let's bring in a figure I've been waiting to see if there's any major differences between the two of these guys. Besides the capes, and we got both of the Superman, the Henry Cavill Supermans. And I do like the way these guys are looking. This has been one of my favorite Superman figures, but I think this one just kind of tops it. The cape has been fantastic. There's no alterations in the paint scheme as well. The head sculpts are virtually the exact same. So the only thing that's really changing it is the cape, but the figure just feels better. This one, overall, it's a great looking Superman as well. It's got some very nice detail, stylization. The cape, yeah, the cape, I didn't really like the cape. That's one thing. It's just way too folded up and kind of a heavier plastic, rubber as well. Not too crazy about that. but it did have just a kind of weird feeling to it. I don't know, very stiff, a little bit janky. And when I talk janky, not as janky as Action Comics 1000 Superman. We got some, that was a janky figure. You know, some of the offshoots as well are a little bit janky, especially that Red Sun, which was kind of my base opinion because that figure's articulation just didn't suit well. It just janky, felt rough, felt like not good. But they've improved it with this guy. But compared to this one, it feels more fluid and it has a better range of motion, in my opinion. But overall, these are two exact same figures. A little disappointing we didn't get some extras, different head sculpt, anything. Even black hair would have been, appreciated because his hair was a bit more black than brown. But very cool. If you didn't get this one the first time around, you definitely have a great upgraded version that I think a lot of people are going to prefer over this one. Now, some other figures I definitely want to bring in. I want to see how this would look. Too bad we'll probably never see this in movies until, well, they cast a new Black Adam, hopefully, down the road. But seeing these two guys together, man, what could have been? What could have been if he would just stay? There we go. But it would have been cool to see these two guys on screen together. Height comparison, he's almost the same size as Superman, actually a little shorter. But there's something about this Superman that's just really nicely done. He does have a lot of detail on his costume that's not painted. I do remember him having kind of a lighter shade of blue on his gauntlets and certain parts of his chest. Might do that, maybe on the older figure, but I don't know. We'll see how that transpires. But I like to see these two guys together in some epic battles. That would be pretty cool. Very nice to see these two guys together. Black Adam, a little bit of a custom there. And then, of course, I gotta bring this figure in because I just love, after seeing him packed away for so long and haven't got him out of the package, I really love this Flash. It is such a great figure, so much pop and color, and it's great to see these guys together doing, you always had them doing the races, and in the one of the end credit scenes, you see these two guys going on up front a race too. That was really cool. Very cool, reminiscent of the comic books. And then, of course, we got to bring this one in. This is one of the best figures. This is the armored version of Batman. And man, seeing these two guys together, just imagine the battles these two guys have had in the movies and, of course, in your displays. And man, it's impressive to see these two guys together. Very cool. And then another figure I want to bring in just because, well, we got to see how Wonder Woman sits up with Superman. And these two look really good. Really like the size difference. It's great to build kind of this movie universe Justice League that we finally really have fleshed out. I'm not a big fan of, actors being portrayed in action figure form, but I think the sculpts are good enough that you do get a slight resemblance. And then you get that, hey, this could be a generic kind of superhero, which I kind of prefer, but man, both of these turned out extremely well. I really do like them a lot. And then, of course, you got the third one out of this wave. That's another surprising figure. And that is the Batman, the Nightmare Batman. This is such a great figure. I'm so happy to have this figure in my collection. He is interesting. Definitely check out my review and get my thoughts and opinions on this figure. But man, he is pretty stylized and he looks pretty damn cool too. So there you go, my friends. There we have Superman and Doomsday from the Batman vs. Superman movie. This has been a very fun line to collect. There has been some really stellar figures and not, some fluff, so to speak. They have been produced very well. Got to do a little bit of toy surgery on a few of these figures, I think, to add some extra detail and just some extra pomp. But man, I really appreciate the effort they went to with certain figures. This one in particular, this is one of the standout figures in the collection. That is, wow, he's taking a lot of real estate here, a lot of cape. But man, he is so well done. All of these figures have really impressed me. This has been a great lineup. I'm very, very happy to have this in the collection. didn't think I would really want to collect this entire wave. Because like I said, Justice League line, I did get most of those figures, but the only one I really, really liked besides the Superman was the Flash. I didn't really open up Batman. I didn't open up Aquaman. Cyborg was a huge disappointment for me as well, but these ones have really changed my mind. I hope we get another wave. Definitely want to see the Jared Leto Joker, Deathstroke. I want to see the armored up Ezra Miller. You know, maybe Harlequin. I'm pretty sure she was in the end credit scene as well with those other characters in Batman. So yeah, it's very cool to see that. Hopefully we get some extra heroes. Would be very great to see. So there you go, guys. Thank you so much for watching. This has been a very fun wave to collect. I hope you're enjoying them as well. Let me know in the comments. Are these a pass or are they a definite must-have for you? Love to hear your thoughts and opinions. And again, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all the support, the comments, the feedback, the encouragement. Thank you so much, guys. And stay tuned. We have our year-end top 10 of 2024 figures that we're putting together. We got one more haul coming up very shortly, actually. That's been delayed since November, and it's kind of creeping up. We're going to have a pretty big haul before the end of the year, and hopefully one of those figures that I'm thinking could be a contender for figure of the year, but we'll see about that. But guys, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you soon in another video. Take care, guys.